What's up, fellas? I'm my illustrious female fan, Steve Alicious, here with the iPhone 12 Pro after 2 weeks. What's the feeling on this device? Should you be upgrading, and which iPhone should you be upgrading from? All of that today on this edition of Steve Alicious Tech. And we're back as always. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers, up over 2,150 as of the taping of this video. If you've been loving the phones, if you've been loving the technology, go ahead and give that subscribe button a tussle. It certainly means a lot to me. So the iPhone 12 Pro after a couple of weeks. And I've been sitting on this review for a while because it always is a struggle to come up with why should you be upgrading to an iPhone 12 Pro. And I'm mostly speaking to iPhone users, to Apple users here, because if you're an Android user, it's a preference thing at this point, right? If you want a Note 20 Ultra, if you want an iPhone, it's just which ecosystem you want to be a part of, because both are fantastic. But if you're an iPhone user, if you have been one, I was trying to really formulate the thoughts that I need to convince you to upgrade to an iPhone 12 Pro. What's the wow factor? Because you don't get one with iPhones, right? It's not like Android devices when you get a new Note or you get a new Pixel device and you pick it up. And even if your old one is only a year or two back, when you're finally done setting up that new one, you get that snappiness, that just overall awesome power. You feel it. If they say it's twice as fast, it feels twice as fast. And that sits with you for a while. You just get that tingle. Hey, I'm using something that's way more powerful than my last phone. But I'll tell you what. After you're done putting your Apple ID into this thing and you swipe it open for the first time and you look around iOS, it feels exactly the same. And people get on me sometimes for not going over the specs in these reviews, and it doesn't really matter with an iPhone. Sure, there's 6 gigs of RAM. Sure, there's a 2800 milliamp hour battery in here. And if they were charging that on an Android device, that $1,000 for specs like that, I'd be jumping up and down, and rightfully so, but it's not about that with an iPhone. So I don't really get into it a lot. It's about that feeling. And I kept coming back to that. You know, when I had my iOS 14 on my iPhone 10, I swear to you that it's only, and that's 3 years back now, 2017 that device came out. I swear to you, it's only a beat, perhaps a beat and a half slower than this device. I put iOS 14 on an iPhone 6S from 2015. And I swear to you, it's 2 beats slower. And that's both a testament to how well iOS is optimized, but at the same time, it provides this kind of meh feeling to when you get a new iPhone. So I still was moping around, trying to figure out what is the feeling of the iPhone. What's the reason to go out and say, you know what, even though my old one's working fine, and it probably will work for 2 or 3 years more, why am I getting this? And being an iPhone user, I don't know how old a lot of the viewers are, but it reminds me of when you get your old high school friends back together. Right? You call up everybody, you haven't seen everybody in however long, and you just start hanging out. There's no anxiety, there's no awkwardness. Perhaps you haven't even spoken to some of these people or seen them for 4 or 5 years, but you get right back in your old rhythms. You're joking around, you're having a good time, no one seems out of place, and everything just works. But then at the end of the night, you say, you know what? We should do this more often. Why don't we? This feels great. Why don't we do this more often? But you don't. You don't. You go back to your lives. You go back to the newer things that are challenging you, that are really getting you to move forward. And to me, that seems almost like an iOS device. With your Android devices, let's take the Notes, for example. When you got a Note 9, the debate was, and you had the Note 10 came out, the debate was really between 2 different phones. You got a completely different and new and exciting experience with the Note 10 Plus. I know people say, slab phones are all the same. I know, I get that. But it was a different phone. It was a different philosophy to the device. And then when you're upgrading the next year, then you got the Note 20 Ultra and all the rest of it. It seems like there's leaps and bounds to both the design and the functionality. And sure, you could say, well, now we got Pro Raw in here. Now we got all this. How many of you are putting gigabyte large files into Adobe Lightroom? I'm not. Are you? I'm sure you're going to like the HDR. That's nice. The 8-bit, 12-bit, whatever kind of HDR, 10-bit, whatever HDR it is that you're getting that you couldn't get on the old one. Sure, that's nice. There's some features that I'm sure you're going to use, but it's not the same. Let's talk about the build quality for a second. Excellent. The stainless steel feels amazing. The frosted glass back is amazing. I like something, if you're an iPad Pro user, you'll follow me on this. I like the fact that the screen, I don't know how to describe this. Maybe it's because it's completely flat on top because of the more flat kind of squared off design to the phone itself, like the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5. But it feels like there's less distance between the glass and the actual LCD panel, which is quite nice. It feels like you're touching the content with your fingers a little more closely. And that you get from the iPad Pro. If you have one, you know, it feels like you're kind of really touching whatever it is on the screen, which is just pleasant to go through. The charging is fine. It works. They got the MagSafe. You got all the rest of it. Is it the fastest charging in the world? No. Is it the biggest battery in the world? No, but it lasts you an entire day. It's not about screen on time with an iPhone, right? It lasts you an entire day. So I keep coming back to that. Why are you upgrading? And if you have an iPhone XS, don't worry, I'm gonna go over the camera in a second. You'll get cat pictures. I know people are worried about that. I'll go over the camera. You'll get cat pictures. If you have an iPhone XS, why are you upgrading? Well, you're getting the wide-angle lens, which I think is important because it's nice to have that kind of flexibility when it comes to photography. You are getting a little bit better on the computational stuff. See, that's where the A14 and the faster chip really does come into play when you're taking photos. It's able to do things faster with the portrait modes, with night mode, all the rest of it. The processing happens a little bit snappier. But at the end of the day, you're still getting that iPhone experience. And if you're an iPhone user, this is going to make no sense to Android users watching this, by the way. If you're an iPhone user and you have a XS, it's just time. It's time to call your friends. You haven't seen them in 2 or 3 years. It's time to call your friends and come together and enjoy another iPhone experience. And I can't explain that. I really can't. But it is. You'll love the new design. It'll harken back to the days of the 4 and 5, and you'll love holding it, and you'll love all the rest of it. But when you power it up and you turn it on, it's the same as it's been since iOS 7. And that's a good thing because it's comforting, because a lot of people with iPhones just want them to work. They don't want to have to worry about... Listen, I'm not knocking Android. I love those devices. I got a million of them. But you can get an Android device from 3 and 4 years back that won't even give you text messages anymore. Hasn't been supported in years. You're worried about notifications and phone calls, and you could pick up one of these 5 years from now and know that it'll just work. And if you're not a tech person, if you're not someone who gets excited about these things, that matters. And if you're an iPhone user from the beginning like I am, every 2 years it's time. It's just time to get another one. Time to feel excited for a few minutes and go back to an old friend. They're standing at the bar, buy them a drink, have a good night. And then enjoy the comfort that you're going to get for as long as you're using this thing. It's not going to challenge you. It's not going to be some great new thing that you have to learn how to use or that you're suddenly going to be able to do with it. But everything's going to work. And there's just something to be said for that. And so when you want to talk about an iPhone 12, yeah, they put the best of the best in it every year. The build materials, the quality, control, all the rest of it. IP68 dust and water resistant stainless steel band that feels fantastic. The new ceramic shield that hopefully doesn't scratch in 37 seconds in a pocket with nothing else in it but some lint. But it's an iPhone. That's okay. So now let's get to what you all have been here, what y'all came over for. Cat pictures. Here it is. Gina-licious, the sassiest tortoiseshell there is, in her Snow White princess outfit, looking fantastic. And I'll tell you what, the camera, the detail is superb. You're going to zoom in. You're going to love your pictures. You're going to love it. Now, they went again this year with the kind of muted, I don't want to say muted, but more natural tones to the photos. So when I took the same photo, and I'm going to put it up, the second one that you're seeing right now is the same rough photo taken with my Fold 2. Right away, you notice the Samsung, the poppier colors, all the rest of it, the saturation turned up to an 11, which is fine. But, you know, to me, it becomes subjective at that point. Which one do you like better? Do you like the poppier colors that might not be completely realistic? Some people think that's cartoonish. Or do you like the dynamic range or whatever all those fancy terms are with the iPhone photo, where you get just a real image? And it depends. But like I said, to objectively sit here and say one's better than the other, I think is a fool's errand. You're really just talking about which type of photo that you enjoy. But at the end of the day, let me say this. Should you upgrade from a 10S? Yes, it's time. Are you going to suddenly notice the 47-time improvement that the 11.8 trillion transistors and whatever on the A14 Bionic show you? No, you're not. But that doesn't matter, does it? It's new. It's excellent. It's build quality. It's going to work. It's going to last 4 or 5 years. So if you got an iPhone 10, a 10S, an 8, a 7, come on back to your friends. Get a 12. If you're somebody else that's got an 11 or anything, 11 Pro Max, hang on. Wait for the 13. Wait for that 120 hertz screen. You don't need to call your friends back for another year. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-alicious day.